Jordan Montgomery finally signed with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Snakes alive, baby. Jordan Montgomery to the D-backs on a 1-year, $25 million deal with a vesting option for $25 million in the second year. He needs to make 10 starts in 2024 for the second year to vest. And I do love that the D-backs made the World Series last year and have continued to invest in their team this offseason. Not that they've made crazy moves, but just adding on the fringes. I think it's been a pretty nice offseason for them. But let's talk about Montgomery. He had a great year last year, 3.20 ERA, 119 WHIP, well below a strikeout per inning. We know the strikeout rate has dropped the past couple of years, but he is, I think, proven he's a workhorse now. 178 and a third plus innings in back-to-back seasons. Scott, we'll start with you. What are you thinking about Jordan Montgomery headed to Arizona?
I mean, I don't think anything really changes with regard to his fantasy value. He has the potential to be a top 40-ish type pitcher, but that's when you're counting on him for a full season. And presumably he's going to be delayed here for a few turns at the start as he gets into a position to take on a full workload. So I have him just inside my top 50 at starting pitcher. I don't think I'll have a 3.20 ERA again. All the ERA estimators are mid-high threes. That's kind of been Jordan Montgomery's standard, and I think he'll return to that this year with, so-so strikeout rate, as you pointed out. It's just a reliable spot filler in fantasy is what I view him as, and I don't think it changes now that he's in Arizona versus Texas last year. Presumably there's going to be less run support, but he was 10 and 11 last year. I know it was split between two teams. I don't think much changes is the bottom line. I do wonder if when everybody's ready, Eduardo Rodriguez is healthy, Jordan Montgomery, presuming everybody's ready, what does that mean for Ryan Nelson, who had a good spring? But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, I guess.
Yeah, the D-backs rotation as of now, my guess is Tommy Henry will be the first one to get the boot once Jordan Montgomery is good to go. I think the fact that Eduardo Rodriguez is starting the season on the IL with that lat injury probably has something to do with the D-backs being aggressive here on Jordan Montgomery and bringing him in. The NFBC ADP over the past week is 193.7 for Jordan Montgomery. He's going just after names like Aaron Savali and Nathan Eovaldi. Chris, do you think that might climb back up a bit here in these final drafts? We have a draft tonight, so I guess we'll find out shortly.
I could see it moving up into like the 160-ish range. You put him like in that. That's where I've got, that Yuri Perez, Kodai Senga, that whole tier of injured guys who are all better than Jordan Montgomery. It's worth pointing out, but he'll need some time to get up to speed, and he's not currently injured and presumably will not be injured moving forward. Obviously, anything can happen, but I think that's probably a fair range for him when you're talking about there's a little bit of upside. He's a good pitcher. He's probably not a great pitcher, but, mid to high threes ERA, good team context, good home park. I think he's fine. I've got him on a few teams. I'm happy he landed somewhere good. My guess also regarding the options here is that it's not like my guess would be that it's like it vests and he still has an option, right? Like, does that make sense? Like he pitches 10 starts. He has the 20 million guaranteed for next year, but he can still opt out. That's my assumption, because it would be a really weird decision to not have the opt-out at the end of the year for such an easy vesting to hit. So that's the assumption I'm operating under, that like Blake Snell and all the other guys that Boris had, he's probably going to be a free agent again next offseason.
Yeah, I don't know that we have that information yet, but what you're saying does make sense, Chris. So we'll see if that is what the actual contract terms wind up being. But Jordan Montgomery is headed to Arizona. Likely not going to be ready, the first couple weeks of the season. But once he's good to go, he'll kind of fit into that Chris Bassett, Jose Barrios type mold for starting pitcher in fantasy.